Welcome back, everybody, and let me take you on an adventure. This isn't the usual Stig Shift. This was my visit out to Dallas. And when I was there, I got to visit a convention, which was InfoShare for aircraft safety. Got great information out there, but that's not what this adventure is about. This is going to be a Stig tour. I got to visit a lovely, lovely museum out at Love Field, and I want to show it off to you because they had some amazing aircraft over there that I want you to see. So if you're into museums and you want to see a tour of it, stick around. There'll be something different for you here, but let's go. Hey guys, I just got out of my conference and I realized there's a really cool flight museum over here in Dallas at Love Field. Let's go check it out. This should be fun. My love and passion for aviation doesn't just stop at my airline or my job. I have respect for all of it. I love it. It's my life. But sometimes aviation does come at a very steep cost, where we have to build weapons of destruction. I suppose that's one part of it I don't like, but the engineering aspect and the flight portion of it, I can't be a denier. I have to say I love it. It's beautiful. Even though I know what these things are built for, it's still beautiful. I suppose you can call me a hypocrite for saying that. I think this is a Learjet. I'm not quite sure the model of the Learjet. Guys, help me out with this. I'm always horrible at the models of corporate aviation, so if you know it, let me know. And me loving the aviation aspect, because we're right next to an airport, I always see an airplane take off, and guess what? My head always snaps up. I have to watch. I can't help myself. That's just the way it is. Look at this tiny little engine. Oh my goodness. Look at that. It's even got FOD inside of there. But it's all right. It's just a museum piece. But actually, they've kept it pretty nice. Even the interior looked pretty decent. I'm sure with a little bit of a tender love and care, this thing could be up and flying. Look at the seats. Man, that looks brand new. Me acting like a kid that has to touch every single thing in the world. Yeah, that's just me. By the way, that was the AOA, the angle of attack sensor. Fun little maintenance fact for you. You know me, I have to do it. Those are called static dissipators. It absorbs static electricity. It's very vital, especially when the aircraft encounters a lightning strike. Pretty cool stuff. Most aircraft have those. I'll show them to you guys on the 787 when I'm back on the line. This is the Republic F-105D Thunder Chief, or the Thud. I have seen this thing in pictures so many times, but when you're actually next to it, this aircraft is actually humongous. This thing was developed in the Cold War, and it was developed specifically for a nuclear strike aircraft. It was the largest single-engine combat aircraft at the time. Capacity of 14,000 pounds of armament. Aircraft was capable of reaching Mach 1 speeds at sea level and up to Mach 2 at high altitude. That's pretty impressive. Powered by a Pratt & Whitney J75P engine, this bird of prey served its time mostly in the Vietnam War. Up next, we have a beautiful Lockheed T-33A Shooting Star. This thing was based on a design of the P-80, most notably used as a trainer for pilots, right at the end of World War II. It was equipped with the Allison J33-A centrifugal flow turbojet engine. This beauty actually managed to get up to 600 miles per hour and was considered the only fighter jet with straight wings. From just basic knowledge and understanding, those things at the tips of the wings are called tip tanks. They're basically extra fuel tanks. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Once again, my education when it comes down to military jets is not as good as as commercial jets. I am Googling just like you are, don't worry, but I still love it. I still enjoy it. I believe all the vital components and the engines have been pulled out of these aircraft to prevent further corrosion. We take a step inside of the museum and we get to see lots of beautiful commemorations to aviators. people who have contributed to the world of aviation and its progression. Obviously, and the most notably, the Wright brothers, the forefathers of flight, but I was disappointed. In such a beautiful and great museum, not a single mention, not a single word of the man that actually made them fly, Charles Taylor. You know, these might have been the first two people to take flight under a powered aircraft, but they very quickly forget how they got up there. Who actually built that engine for them? Charles Taylor, the first aircraft mechanic. And to forget such a big piece of history is a kind of a disrespect towards aircraft maintenance. Without that man, you might as well be flying a glider. Forgive me if I get passionate about this, but we are very much the ghosts of aviation. And it even shows when I walk through a museum. I think the only place I actually seen Charlie Taylor mentioned was in the Smithsonian. I actually even got to witness his toolbox, which was an honor. But anyway, beyond that point, let's keep on going. The good old DH-82, Tiger Moth. This beauty was built back in 1940. And believe it or not, this thing can actually go up to 109 miles per hour. Mostly used as a trainer, back in World War II. Now this thing was hilarious. This is the Thorpe T-18, called the Frontier Flyer. It's a purely experimental build. And what they did with this thing was quite miraculous. This is amazing for kids. If any of your kids are in love with aviation and want to learn, this is the airplane to look at. Not only does it have decals all over the place, but they actually explain how the aircraft works, which is phenomenal. The basics of flight dynamics, absolutely fantastic. A very simple and good explanation on how control surfaces work, and a little bit of comedy between it as well. One thing that I've learned throughout the years that majority of people are very much visual learners. And when you can apply this type of information so simplistically put to the aircraft itself, they can visualize it. It's beautiful. Say it with me. Pitot tube. Pitot tube. And some funny formulas right there. I don't know what that means. I have no idea. Those are all lies. It's just pure magic. Stay away from the thing that turns a lot. Moving further, we are looking into a little bit more history, and we're looking at airships. The first practice of aviation was airships, which is hot air balloons, or they're right there, the Hindenburg. Hot air balloons in aviation was there way before fixed wing or rotary wing aircraft. Yep. Now take a look at this. I've never seen this aircraft before. I was fascinated by it. I had no idea what this was, but I found out later on. I'll show you. Just by looking at it, I could obviously see that it's a V-tail, and from the tail portions of it, I could assume only that it is a PT6 engine. But this thing still baffled me. Later on, I found out exactly what it is. I'll show you in a second here. The $1 million screw right there on the F-18 holding the whole airplane together. I'm just joking. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Boeing F-18C Hornet. Believe it or not, this F-18 actually served on the Blue Angels team, and it held the number 1 through 6. That's right. They genuinely painted the numbers, all the numbers on it, 1 through 6. It ended up with 4, obviously. And the reason it holds on to 4 because it honors Admiral Pat Walsh. He was a former Blue Angels pilot. And this gorgeous girl also has a name. Her name is Catherine. I don't think I'm going to go into the history of the F-18. You guys can figure that one out and research it. It's a very well-known aircraft. Just enjoy. Navy pilots and Navy aficionados and maintainers, please let me know why the gear is like that and shaped in that manner. Why is the main gear folded backwards like that? It's quite interesting to me. I'm gonna guess because of harder landings due to its landing on an aircraft carrier, but that's just my assumption. Leave me know. This was a beautiful representation of the classic 747 from JAL. And this was the classics even back in the days when 747s, the 100 and 200 series were around. With its gorgeous spiral staircase and efficient cabin, we are looking into the past, and I'm glad they do this. It reminds us what aviation came from and where we are now. Up top, a lovely Concorde and a Delta MD-11, I believe. This facility actually houses its own model shop where they can build their own models in very minute detail. And there you go, my beautiful plastic princess, the 787. Now let's take a look at a power plant that is very well known. The one, the only, Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. A monster of an engine, liquid-cooled V12 piston engine. Most notably equipped on the Spitfire, and we all know the Spitfire. And later on, got adapted to the P-51 Mustang D. The cute little Pratt & Whitney R985, this was the predecessor to the Wasp. You know, you see a lot of car manufacturers nowadays, right? Look at this thing, it's a Fiat. Yeah, you think car manufacturers started out as car manufacturers? No, they didn't. They actually built engines for aircraft. Take a look at a BMW. What do you think that little emblem means on the BMW? The circular emblem with the blue and white. Well, guess what? The white is a propeller. The blue is the sky. BMW used to build aircraft engines. A lovely cutaway on this J47. Technology has changed a lot throughout the years, but you know what? The basics are still the basics. It still functions the same way. Suck, squeeze, bang, blow. Yeah, I'm sorry, I had to do it. Now this thing was a treat to see. First time seeing it ever. The Flying Pancake. The Vought V173 Flying Pancake. It's genuinely one of a kind aircraft. Designed by a gentleman named Charles Zimmerman. This thing is just genuinely aerodynamics in motion. The designer took the most basic terms of aerodynamics and pushed it to its limits, which is incredible. Standing next to it, you look at it, you're like, this thing should not be able to fly, but it did. Not only was it flown, it was actually flown by one of the most famous people in the world, Charles Lindbergh. Yeah, he flew this thing. Most people back in those days probably thought it was a UFO. Oh, the good old Huey. This thing is just iconic. And you know what? I've been around this aircraft before, but every single time I forget how actually massive it is. The Huey is big. This thing is not a small helicopter. Just like I always say, the 727 is literally the tank of the sky. This is the rotary wing factor of this one. This thing is a tank of the sky for the helicopter world. I don't think I need to go into any further detail about this aircraft. It served its time, it's still serving its time, especially during the Vietnam War. This thing is an icon. It's just undeniable, and it is a workhorse. It will keep on flying. I guarantee you there's still Hueys out there flying to this day. Yeah, it's just a beautiful piece of engineering, and man, oh man, I guarantee you this thing saved a lot of lives. I am not a helicopter man. I don't know anything about helicopters. I know basics, but feel free to chime in if you are a helicopter technician or a pilot. I always like to learn. The Crusader. This thing is very special. The design on this aircraft is really, really incredible. The aircraft itself was designed as a spy bird in the beginning, but obviously used as multitude of functions. But what you need to pay attention to is the engineering. The way the wings can be lifted up. The whole wing surface was able to deflect upwards about 7 degrees out of the fuselage, and this occurred on takeoff and landing. This is one of those aircraft that was the jack of all trades. It could do everything. Matter of fact, this thing was called the very last of the gunfighters, as the last fighter jet to be armed with cannons as their primary weapon. A quick little peek into the wheel well, always fun to see. I always find it fascinating how Navy jets can just fold their wings like that and then just unfold them, and it's perfectly structurally sound. It's pretty awesome. Well, up next, a beauty, the A7 with its probe sticked out. That's for refueling. Let's walk around the other end. I think that is the gun port I'm touching. I'm not sure, but let's go check out the specs. This is a light attack aircraft, and it was also used within the Vietnam War. Featured many new variants, such as a heads-up display, as well as an inertial navigation system. It looks exactly like the F-8 fighter, but it actually is a little bit shorter. A quite amazing amount of payload that it can carry, about 15,000 pounds of munitions, and being capable of taking off and landing on an aircraft carrier. Quite amazing. This thing was really something special. Man, oh man, I don't think I've ever seen this thing in my life. Not even in pictures, not even in books. Check this out. This thing is actually a missile. The Navy contracted this, and they requested a supersonic missile that can be launched off of an aircraft carrier and capable of also carrying a payload of a nuclear weapon. It lasted about 2 years. They ended the contract back in 1958. The major problem came with the communication of the aircraft. So nothing really came about this. It was just one of those offshoot things that they built and they never really used. It was meant for the Navy, but the Navy said the Polaris missile is probably better suited for all these things. We really don't need to do this. But still, a testament to aviation, still a testament to engineering. Quite incredible what they could build when they put their minds to it. As we walk further through the museum, there's a beautiful area where children can play. There's lots of places for kids to learn in this facility. And by the way, I forgot to mention, the facility is heavily funded by Southwest. Southwest has donated 2 jets to this facility. 2 737s, one cut in half from the forward fuselage and one whole fuselage. Well, let's go take a look at it. You're about to say, Stig, you're walking onto enemy territory. No, guys, it's all good. But I'm still enjoying this. This is one of the classic models, and they preserved it very good. I mean, everything is still functional. Look, even the overhead baggage bins, I mean, fantastic. Everything is kind of blocked off within a flight deck, but which is fine. I've been in a million 737s. Don't worry, I don't need to go into another one. I'm sure you'll see me on my next video doing that same thing. But it's really nice to see this kind of representation of aircraft because the general flying public can actually walk into it. You know, some people actually don't ever get to fly or don't even get to experience aircraft. And when they get to visit museums like this, and when there is a showcase like this where you can literally look inside the wheel well, just like I do within my job scope, you can do that too. So I highly recommend you guys to go visit Dallas and go visit Love Field, and you can see it with your own eyes. It's phenomenal. You'll get to touch an aircraft. You'll get to see what's inside of it. And this is what they have. So it's obviously these are decommissioned aircraft, so you're not going to ruin anything. But trust me, you'll have fun. I promise you'll have fun. As we keep on moving forward, I'm showing you the avionics bay. This is what is inside. Now, obviously, the aircraft is cut in half at this point, but they have good lighting, and they still have the computer boxes, which I was surprised at, which is phenomenal. Afterwards, we went up into the other aircraft and checked it out, and they had a Harley parked in there. That was pretty awesome. And they have a beautiful glass case with commemorations to past achievements of Southwest. Very nice. This is the Pratt & Whitney J58. One thing I forgot to film, which I messed up, I'm sorry. This facility actually houses a SR-71 simulator. It was very cool. Hopefully next time I'll catch it. But this is the engine for the SR-71. Fun fact I learned about this engine is how they actually started it. They had to use starter carts with 2 Buick V8 engines. It was the only thing powerful enough to produce enough compression to start the engine. But from what I heard, every single time they did it, they broke the engines. So every single time they started this engine, the Buick engine would break. They had to get a new one. I can identify a few of these components, such as fuel control, fuel lines, bleed ducts, things like this. But again, I have to go back and read. I have to Google it myself. But it's still pretty fun to look at and research. It's quite an incredible engine. The true Mach speeds of the SR-71 is not actually really disclosed. They just give you what they give you. But I know it's capable of going faster. They say typical cruise speeds of about Mach 3.2 and an altitude of about 85,000 feet. But, those numbers alone should impress you. Me being an aircraft mechanic, I was scrutinizing everything. I was looking at every nut and bolt, especially the safety wire. All linkages, all cables. No FADEC here, no EECs. As we slowly wrap up our tour, we go outside on the other end of the field and we find ourselves in front of another beauty. This is an A6 or an EA6. This aircraft was very versatile and it was configured in very different ways. This particular one is a EA6B Prowler, designed by Northrop Grumman and was very specific for electronic warfare. Oh, by the way, guys, if I said anything wrong in this video, if I didn't do my proper research, please feel free to call me out, correct me. I'm here for it. I have a buddy of mine who served in the Navy that actually worked on this aircraft. He was a maintainer for this aircraft. When I showed him this footage, it took him back to the Enterprise. The USS Enterprise, as in the aircraft carrier. Yeah, he served on that one. Ray, if you watch this, I love you, brother. There's not much I can say here because I'm not educated enough to say on it. All I can do is I admire. And here's the other half of that 737 that we walked through, sticking out the other end. And last but not least, a beautiful F-16. The F-16 has always fascinated me, and it's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. Some wacky engineer out there just said, you know what, let's just build a crazy, powerful engine and put it in the smallest fuselage possible. And that's exactly what they did. They literally built an airplane around an engine. It's an engine with wings. That's what this thing is. It's crazy. I believe this thing was equipped with a Pratt & Whitney F100 PW220. Let me get specifics out of the way. This is a F-16B Fighting Falcon. This is the 2-seat version of it. This aircraft is still used in modern day, believe it or not. Updated avionics and armament, obviously. Have you noticed something? All of these military aircraft are using Pratt & Whitney engines. Pratt & Whitney is very good at building military engines. Check this out, and here's going to be my question for you. You see this little roller, little fidget spinner I'm rolling or spinning on that missile? Tell me what that is. Tell me the name of it and tell me its function. That's your quiz for the day. Otherwise, it was a pleasure being in Dallas. I enjoyed it. The conference was beautiful, and I also enjoyed this beautiful, beautiful museum. I even got to go and do a little bit of plane spotting. Thank you guys for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. I have plenty of more videos with other museums I've visited. If you guys want to see it, let me know. I'll post it with more commentary. But overall, thank you very much, and I'll see you guys later.